What do Van Gogh, photography, Monet, and you have in common? Well, please stay tuned and find out. The answer to that question is we are all artists, and every one of us has an inner artist inside of us. And today on this episode, I want to help you to listen to that inner artist in you and to help bring him out so that you can make beautiful art, the art that only you can do, because you are one of a kind, special, and unique. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started. I really like this image the day I shot it. I don't like this composition at all, so I'm going to take some liberties here and crop this image. Why am I going to crop it? Because I can, number one. And number two, I'm just not happy with it, like I said, so I think I can get a much better crop out of this image. I'm going to take this image into a more painterly look, so it really doesn't matter that I cut this image down in size a little bit. It's going to be fine because I'm going to use Photoshop to enlarge it with some really cool enlargement features inside of Photoshop, and I'll show you how I do that later. But for now, let's go ahead and crop this image. I always like to turn the lights out, so if you type your L key twice, you'll put your lights out. And let's turn the lights back on for a second because I just want to show you here. Let's click on the crop tool. Right now, see this little lock here? It's opened up here. This way, when this is open, we can go ahead and adjust the crop any way that we like. It's not going to constrain to any, particular aspect ratio. Okay, so let's turn those lights out again, and let's just free form crop this thing. We could go with maybe a pano crop. Let's see. We could do a pano crop if we'd liked, which might look cool, but in my case, I don't think so. This leaf here, I don't like, so I'm going to crop in and get rid of that. I'm going to try to get this on the third, on that upper left-hand third for the rule of thirds here, because I think it's going to look nice, maybe somewhere in that area here. Let's just back this up right around in here. I just want to pull this down just a little bit. Just playing with this. I'm going to pull the bottom up a little bit. Maybe right around there, I think looks pretty cool. Maybe let's just pull this side in just a smidge. Maybe pull this here up a little bit and here a little bit. You know, guys, it's here and there a little bit. I'm thinking somewhere right in there. I think that looks pretty nice. Type my enter key and accept that crop, and that's what our crop looks like. And I think I like it. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's turn our lights back on by typing the L key again. All right, let's take a look first. I like to start in Lightroom up here where it says profile. Right now the profile is on standard, Adobe standard. And as you can see here, I have all these different profiles that I can pick from here. There's a ton more profiles inside of this little section right here where you see these 4 squares here. So let's click on that. All my favorites are right here, and I'm generally working from my favorites, but I have a whole bunch of other profiles in here, and sometimes we'll look at those too. But in this case, I want to keep this simple. So I'm usually going to choose between Adobe Vivid, Standard, and Color. So let's look at Color first. That's looking pretty good. Standard, not quite as much color. Vivid, maybe a little too much color. So I think I'm going to go with Adobe Color. So let's give that a click and close this up right here. Next thing we want to do is, I always like to start out in Lightroom. Lightroom on the newer versions of CC have made a lot of striving forward with this auto adjustment here, and I think they use artificial intelligence to give us these adjustments in auto. And I think it's the engine. I think they call it a Sensei. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. So let's go ahead and click this and see what Lightroom gives us. Okay. It's not much different than the original look, but it's looking okay. Let's just tweak it from here. Notice it pulled our exposure back a little bit, and it pulled our highlights back a good bit. Let me open these shadows up a little bit. I just want to open this image up a little bit here with the shadows. Open that up a little bit. Highlights are looking pretty good. Whites look pretty nice. Maybe the exposure. Let's just open that exposure up a little bit. Now I'm clipping right here a little bit, so let me just pull back the whites just a little bit till that goes away. Right there. That's looking good. I'm not going to add any clarity to this or dehaze. Vibrance plus 12, that's looking pretty good. Let's see what happens if we add a little bit more. Yeah, it's too much there. I think that plus 12 is pretty good. Maybe I'll just back it off just a smidge right there. I like that. And the -2 saturation's looking good for me. I think what we'll do once we get this in Photoshop is get rid of this rock right here. I don't think it's really helping here. So, so far so good, guys. In terms of ISO, I'm at ISO 500. I'm going to add a painterly look to this, I believe, so I'm not going to really worry about the noise reduction here. Let's zoom in here to 100%. Whoops. Let's go 1:1. Okay. And I don't really, there's not a whole lot of noise in here, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm not going to worry about the noise right now. Okay, so that's good. Let's see here. So detail, sharpening's at 25. I think that's looking pretty good. Noise reduction is not being applied here, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And oops, looks like I have a little clipping here again, so let's just pull this white point back just a little wee bit. All right, guys, that's looking pretty good. So now let's go into Photoshop and let the fun begin. So we're going to right-click this and edit. I'm going to edit this in Photoshop CC 2018 today. And I'm going in with the TIFF format. That's generally the way I like to go in because that gives you, you could go in with JPEG, but I like TIFF because to me, I think it's just a little bit better format than JPEG. Plus, I do all my own printing, and I can print from TIFF. So if I was going to send this off to a printer, I'd probably do this in JPEG. Color Space Pro Photo, so we can get all the color we can out of this image. I always like to go in at 16 bits, and resolution 360, that's what my printer likes. It's an Epson. It likes 360, and most Epsons do, so I'm going to leave it at 360. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Edit, and that'll take us into Photoshop. And let's see where we can go from here, guys. I'm excited to get started on this one. The first thing I'd like to do here is do some cleanup work. I want to get rid of this rock here, and there's a bunch of gunk in this water, guys, and I just don't like it. It looks ugly. So I'm going to get rid of all that kind of gunkishness and maybe work on some of these leaves a little bit and get rid of some of these brown spots and ugly spots on these leaves. To do that, I want to start out by putting a blank layer on top here, and we're going to go to the healing brush. And to get the healing brush, it's just, you just type J and you'll get the healing brush. I always like to use shortcuts. So let's just start here and get rid of these ugly splotches here. Okay. Now, just have fun. A lot of times what I like to do, guys, is put my headset on, listen to some really good music, and just enjoy. This is all about fun, right? You know, it's not about stress. I would hope that as you're working on your images, you would de-stress and not stress. This should be fun. It shouldn't be, you know, something that's really hard to do. I want to open this up for you guys so you can just see how easy this stuff is. And with the modern day computers and all this software that we have, and a lot of software seems kind of confusing and stuff, but that's why I'm here, guys, to try to demystify a lot of this software for you. This healing brush, as you can see, works very simply. I'm just simply rubbing it over these points here, and they are magically going away. You always can hit Control or Command Z on a Mac or PC and get, come back if you don't like the result that you got, and just keep playing with it. And see, what's this ugly brown spot? Look at that. It just goes away. And sometimes I'll hit it once or twice or 3 times, It really, really depends. But it's very forgiving. You can just keep going over and over this stuff. This healing brush tool is quite amazing. It really is. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll zoom in, like see this area here. I don't know what this is, but this is ugly. This little brown spot here, or purple spot. I don't know what it is, but it is not very attractive. But look at that. It's gone. Voila. Very simple, very easy. And again, I'm not stressing here, guys. I'm just enjoying this. It's a lot of fun, and it's good to share this with you guys and be here with you today. And if you guys have any comments or questions, please, go into that comments section below and type them in. I'd love to see some of the work that you guys are doing too. And I'd love to also, at some point in time, have you guys send some of your images into me and let me edit them on the show here. I think that would be kind of fun. I'd love to work with you guys on your images too. And maybe you'll see a direction I take your image, and maybe it'll open up some new possibilities for you as well. Okay, but let's just keep working around here. I might speed this up if this is taking too long, so you don't have to sit here and watch me, but let's just clean this up. Ooh, look at this ugly one right here. That is ugly, but cleans right up. And I'm not going to go too crazy here because I'm going to add a painterly effect. I'm going to use some Topaz software to add a painterly effect. They have this really cool program called Impression, which is really awesome. And it'll emulate different painting styles like, Van Gogh, Pissarro, Monet, gosh, Seurat, you name it, it'll do it. It's really powerful, and it's really, really cool. And I think you'll agree with me. I'm just going to go ahead and pause this video right now, guys, and then I'll get right back to you. I'm going to finish cleaning this up and get back to you because this is going to be a little while till I clean this thing up. Okay, I am back. Let's look at it before and after. So I'm just going to click this layer 1, the blank layer that I used to do my healing on, click it off and on, and you can see, look how much it's cleaned up. I'll tell you, I really like to clean my images up because I think it can really help them look really awesome. And this is the power that we have using Photoshop. And by the way, the reason I did make this blank layer up here was so we could work non-destructively. And also, see up here where it says sample all layers, make sure you have that checked whenever you make a blank layer like this. This way, it'll actually do the editing on that layer itself, which is really cool. And I saved this right here, and I haven't even tried this yet. I wanted to do this in front of you guys so you could see it. I'm going to try the healing brush. Let's see if I can use it to paint over this rock right here and see if it goes away and what kind of a job it'll do. So what I'm going to do is make my healing brush a lot bigger. I'm holding down the Control and Option key and dragging my mouse. In my case, I'm using a Wacom tablet, so I'm using my Wacom pen. I'm dragging it to the right, making that bigger. And I'm just going to paint over that area right there. And let's see if it works. It may or may not. Ooh, look, it made a nice little lily pad there. I think that might look okay in there, actually. But let's get rid of it and see. And again, guys, this tool is very forgiving. You can just keep playing with it. Maybe just run it over this area right here. Just keep playing with it. And I think that's looking pretty good. It matches and mimics the rest of the picture nicely. So I'm going to leave it right like that. I'm thinking about maybe getting rid of this. I don't know. What do you think? Should I get rid of this? I don't know. But for now, I think I'm going to leave it in there. Not sure if I like it or not. Ooh, it's tough sometimes, right? But there we go. And we used the healing brush, not rush, the healing brush to get rid of that big rock there. And that worked out really, really nice. Now, there's some areas here on these leaves like right here, guys. See this area right in here? Let me use the move tool so I can point right in here. It's a little white here, and I don't like that, so I'll show you how we can take care of that. To get rid of this is to use a technique called frequency separation. And to do that, I use an action by Tony Kuiper. And you'll see I have this panel right here, the TK-CX V6 panel. I'll leave a link to Tony Kuiper's action panel down below this video. It's really cool. I use it a lot. I use it for his rapid mask, for luminosity masking as well. So it's not that expensive, guys. I'm going to leave a link for it. But let me show you how it works. He has a bunch of actions here too. So see right here where it says TK with a little play symbol there. I'm going to click that and find an action in here that says frequency separation, which is Can't see it, but it's right there. It is right here. Click that frequency separation, and this little Gaussian blur box pops up here. And I usually leave it right where it's defaulted at 10 pixels. Click OK. It gives you two layers inside of a group called frequency separation, one called texture and one called color blur. Now, all I need to do, guys, and this is really cool, is go onto this layer called color blur, click it on, okay? Get your brush tool. I'm going to type B to get the brush tool. That's the shortcut. And I'm going to sample a color, like say this color right in here. Now the cool thing about frequency separation is I can paint over here and the textures will remain in the image, and it's really cool. Let me zoom in so you can actually see what I'm doing here. So I'm right in here, right? So I have that color selected. You can see that color in the swatch right there. I'm going to crank this up to about 50. And the whole secret here is blending. Get your brush the right size. Again, I did select that color, but let me do it again. And watch, I'll just start painting in here. And I'm just painting. The texture will remain. But I can get rid of some of that blown out highlight look there. Just going to paint in here a little bit. I do this a lot. It really works out nicely. And let's see here. Let's get some of that in here. Paint over some of this over here. I'm just resampling this color here and blending it. And then you can come up to this texture layer here, and I'm going to grab some of this texture. Now you want to use your stamp tool, and when you're using frequency separation, when you're using your stamp tool, and S is a shortcut for the stamp tool, make sure, and this is very important, on texture, that you do not have current and below set up. You must have the current layer selected. Okay, so I'm just going to, and my flow is at 100% and my opacity is 100%. I'm just going to click here and sample from here and just put some of that texture that's in the plant already, or in this, what do you want to call it? Water lily. Just grab some of that texture and bring it up in there. And it's not bringing color in, it's only bringing in the actual texture. Then I can come back to the color blur layer here, go back to the brush, and I'm going to sample this color right here. And I want to paint over this because it looked a little discolored to me right in here. I'm not going to go too crazy here, guys, but I'm going to drop my opacity down a little bit here, paint over this again. Just painting over all this area right in here. Okay, so let's take a look at the before and after. Let's go to where it says frequency separation. There's the before and after. So looking pretty good, and that looks pretty good to me. Let's make this full screen so we can see the before and after. What do you think? I mean, it's a really quick job, guys, because we're making a video here, but I think that looks pretty good. I could come in here too, like say for instance I didn't like some of the color in these other leaves in here. I'm not going to spend too much time, but a lot of times when I'm working in images, guys, I may spend a day or two on an image, and I'll stay in here and I'll start really playing with these colors and getting this thing just to look just the way I like. And again, guys, to me, this has got to be a fun experience, an enjoyable experience. I find it to be very therapeutic when you're in here working on images, taking your time, you know, trying to get them to look beautiful, and it's just a good time. So there we go. I'm at 30%. Let me just bring this up to even higher, like 80%. See that look? I can bring that color right in there. See that? And you can get the idea what I'm doing here, right? It's pretty cool. So you can come in here, and all that texture, the beautiful thing about frequency separation is that texture stays there, and the color just gets added to the top, which is really, really nice. So we could come in here. Let's just do this one leaf. I'm not going to do the other leaves, but let's just do this one. So I don't want this video getting too long. Make this brush a little bit bigger in here. Okay. There we go. Okay. Like if I didn't like this brown color in here, I could sample, say like that green right there. And look. Fix it. Isn't that cool? It's really nice. Very nice. Very easy to do. A lot of people are afraid of frequency separation. It's like, oh, frequency separation, that's hard. I can't do it. Guys, it's not hard. As you can see, this Tony Kuiper panel is really nice. I'm not affiliated with Tony Kuiper. He's a really great guy, though. I'll tell you what, and this panel is well worth it. And it's, again, it's not that expensive. So I highly recommend you pick it up. It's really nice. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. All right, let me zoom out so we can see the entire image here. So let's click on the frequency separation group here. Here's the before and there's the after. Pretty cool, right? And look at the nice job it did in here. I think I just want to fix this up in here too a little bit. Let's just paint. Let's just paint over that real quick. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that nice? And that's done. I think I'm happy with that. I'm just going to leave it at that. And no, I'm not. I'm going to change its color a little bit. I'm going to just change that color in there just a little bit. I just didn't like that green color. But you can go here, guys, and change things around, alter them. There, that looks a lot better, I think. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I did a little bit more work with the frequency separation, just to work in these leaves a little bit better, just to get them to look a little bit better. But just doing the same technique I showed you guys, I just did a little bit more just to make it look a little more real, just a little better actually. Okay, so the only thing I don't like is this leaf right here. I could just get rid of this leaf, but let me show you how I can just fix the end of this leaf. It's chewed away a bit here. Let me show you how I could fix that. Let's make a blank layer above the frequency separation layer. Let's zoom into this portion of this water lily pad leaf here. I'm going to get my lasso tool. You can just type L to get that. And I'm going to draw a shape here, where a shape that I think this leaf or this lily pad may look like. Something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to fake this out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to get my stamp tool. S for stamp, and I'm going to option click back in this area here, guys, and start to paint in. Okay, in this area here, and then maybe from here I might get some of this. Painting up in here a little bit. Something like that. I just want it to look a little, I want it to look natural. But let me type Command D to get rid of that. I'm going to make another layer, a blank layer above here, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a second here. Let's zoom in here a little bit tighter, because what I want to do is I want to sample this. I'm going to go to Brush, B for Brush, option click here on this color right around in here, get this color like this, and I probably want to go with about 60% paint, and I just want to paint here like this, guys. Make a border around this edge here, like so. Come over here, sample some of this color. Get a little bit of this color, blend this up in here. Let's put that down to about 20%. Just want to fake this out a little bit here. Like that. Something like that. Now, what I want to do is add a little bit of noise to this. So I'm on this layer 3 right here. So if I go to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise, and I just want to add a little bit of noise to this area right here. That's a little too much. 3 pixels there. Let's go. I'm on Gaussian here, monochromatic noise. I'm just going to add about Yeah, like that. See, that just throws a little bit of grain pattern in there. And I'm just going to click OK. Now let's zoom out here and see what we got. So these two layers right here, let's put these guys in a group right here. So let's shift click layer 2 and right click here and say group from layers. And let's just call this leaf repair. Okay. I'm probably not calling that the right thing, but that's okay. But then you can see, look, here's the before and after. So the chewed off, and now that's back. And that just looks a little better. I'm just a little bit happier with that. Looks a little wonky in here, but I'm going to add some painterly effect on here, and I think it's going to look okay once I'm all said and done. So next, we're going to do the painterly effect. Okay, now we're ready to go into the painterly look. So what we want to do is pull all this together. So we're going to do a Shift Option Command E and just get all these layers here and stamp them into one new layer here. Okay, then I'm going to go to Filter, going to Topaz Studio right here, and that's going to launch Topaz Studio. And inside Topaz Studio, we're going to use a filter called the Impression filter, which is really awesome, and it gives you painterly effects. Okay, so right now these are over here are our presets over here, and these are really cool to get you started. So I'm going to come up here and click this right here and come to Impression down here and click on Impressionistic, because this is one of the groups I like the best. And I want to make sure I don't have public selected. Look at that. That's crazy looking, right? Let's click public so we don't see all the public ones. There's some really cool public ones, by the way. But there's one I'm looking for in particular, and that is, and these are, you know, we have like Cezanne, you know, famous painters. There's styles that they painted in. I'm a big fan of Van Gogh, and I believe Van Gogh 2 was one that I was really looking at. Or no, it was actually Van Gogh 1, I think. Let me click on that and see what we get here. Yeah, I like that. And you know what, guys? We can come here and we can come and do a bunch of adjustments over here. But for now, I'm going to just paint this effect on just in certain strategic points. I'm not going to have it on the entire image. I never take these plugins and take them just the way they are. I actually use them the way I want to use them. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm going to click Apply right here, because I really like this impressionistic brush strokes in here. I'm not going to actually add any to the flower here, maybe just a slight amount. You'll see here in a sec. So let's click OK and bring us back into Photoshop. Now once I'm in Photoshop, what I'm going to do is get a layer mask on here. I could have held the Option key down and clicked on the layer mask, and that would put a hide all black layer mask on here, or I can just come here and hit Command I, and that'll invert it. Okay, so now going to get my trusty Wacom tablet to work for me here. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger. I want to be painting with white paint to reveal the Van Gogh painterly look underneath. So I'm going to switch my paint swatch from black to white. I'm going to type the X key here. I'm going to try at 100%. I'm using a Wacom tablet, which is pressure sensitive, and I'm just going to start adding that effect in, just that painterly effect in certain strategic places. I'm going to stay off the water edging out here because I kind of like the way that looks. I just don't like the way these lily pads look. So I think a little painterly will really help them out. Okay, so I'm just painting away here, having fun, guys. And the key here is have fun, relax. It's your world, as Bob Ross used to say. It's your world. You can do with it what you want. You want to add painterly effect to your picture? Go ahead and add it. There's no Photoshop police or, photography police that are going to come out and stop you from doing this. If you like it, then do it. Don't let anybody stop you or hold you back. Listen to that inner artist within you. It'll guide and direct you as to which direction you should go. You need to listen to that. We all have that inner artist inside of us. Just listen. It's speaking all the time. We just need to listen for it. Okay, and just like that. Now, what I might do is add a little bit of the painterly onto these flowers here. Just right in here. The reflections actually in the water here. Just like that. And sometimes it helps to whisper. I learned that one from Bob Ross too. Just a little bit of whispering sometimes gets you in the mood. There's that little black thing right there. I'm going to get rid of that in a little bit here. If I forget, please remind me to get that one, okay? Okay, so let's look at a before and after here. Let's click this eyeball on layer 4. There's the before and there's the after. I'm liking it. I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. The next thing I want to do is smooth this water out a little bit here. All right, let's smooth this water out. So we want to pull all this together with the Shift Option Command E, or in my case, I'm going to cheat here and do it the easy way with my Tony Kuiper panel and click this little icon right here, and voila, it is done. Then I'm going to put on a layer mask on that, just a reveal all white layer mask. Actually, no, I'm not. Let's delete that layer mask. You'll see why here in a second. So what we want to do next is come here to select and click on color range, and want to get this plus eyedropper tool right here and start selecting these brown colors here. Okay, and then we have our fuzziness slider that'll select more or less, so I'm going to keep that down pretty low here. I don't want to select the greens here, so if I hold the option key down, see where that plus turns to a minus, I can click that and make sure I'm not getting any of these green colors in here. I don't want any of these pink colors. I just want these brown colors and some of these white colors. Okay. Just click around here. And we can adjust this fuzziness to bring in more or less. And I'll do some touch-ups with my paintbrush on the mask here if some areas got selected that shouldn't have got selected. Here's a spot right here that needs selected because that's right here. So I can just click on it right here if I want to. Yeah, click on that a couple times. Pull this fuzziness back a little bit. Yeah, maybe somewhere in there. It's selecting some of this lily pad here, but that's okay. You'll see here in a second, guys. Not a big deal. And then we're going to click OK. And when I do, you'll see the marching ants have selected these water areas here. Now, here's the trick. Click on the layer mask here, and it'll apply that layer mask to that layer right there. See right there? Now what we're going to do is come up to Filter. We're going to go to the blur filter, Gaussian blur, and 3.9 pixels is probably good. Let's see what happens if we turn that up a little bit higher. Give it extra blur. Maybe I'll give it a little more blur there. Maybe somewhere in that area, 5 pixels or so. And let's just click OK. Whoops. Actually, you know what? Cancel, because I am on the layer mask here, guys. See, I would have been making a mistake. I would have just been blurring my layer mask, and I want to actually blur the picture. So let's make sure the picture's selected. Let's go back to Filter. Let's go to Gaussian blur. Learn by my mistakes, guys. Okay, see, now we're just getting the water. Okay, let's go up a little higher here. Let's do that around 5, 4.9, close enough to 5. That's good. Click OK. And as you can see, let's do the click the eyeball before and after. See the water smoothed out. And then what I can do is come to the layer mask here and get my paintbrush. Make sure I'm painting with, what color paint do I want to paint with? Make sure I'm painting with black paint. So I can, any areas that got blurred that I don't want, like some of these ripples around the edges of these lily pads. Let's change to black paint. I'm just going to type the X key. I'm at 100%, and I'm just going to paint close to the edge. And I have a lot of feathering on my brush here. Okay, so I'm just going to paint the edges here a little bit. Sharpen those guys up a little bit like that. And I can see that it looks like some blur got on here. I don't want any blur on this lily pad right here. And I'm just going to go over these lily pads here, make sure no blur has got on them. Again, I'm going to fix the ripples on the edges here. Nice. Okay, and here a little bit. Let's show some of those rippled edges. And also I want to paint on these petals that are in the water. I want to make sure they have that little bit of... Oh no, I'm painting with black, guys. That's a mistake. I want to paint that with white. So I'm going to type the X key. Paint with white. Dave, we want those blurry. There we go. We want them blurred. They are in the water. I'm pretty sure that one's in the water. If it wasn't, it is now. We'll think it's in the water. If it wasn't in the water, make my brush a little smaller and just come in here. I could come across here. And maybe change my paint back to white, actually. Okay, there we go. All right, so now let's look at the before and after here. Okay, and I'm looking, I can see a little bit of blur in that flower there. Can you see that when I toggle on and off? So I'm looking for blur like that. So I'm just going to get some black paint and paint on this right in here. There we go. Make sure I didn't get any of that blurred. It wouldn't matter that much, but you know, I don't want it on there. Okay, so there we go. So there's that. What shall we do next? Okay, guys, the final thing I want to do is just dodge and burn the light and darks on this image a little bit, the flower and these lily pads, just a little bit, just to bring out a little bit of extra detail. I'm going to use this Tony Kuiper luminosity mask panel. Just kind of watch and you'll pick up on it. This isn't a full in-depth tutorial on the Tony Kuiper luminosity mask, but just watch along and see how easy this is to do. What I'm going to do is burn first. So the numbers 1 through 6 here are the darks. The numbers 1 through 6 here are the lights. So I'm looking for dark tones. So I'm trying to find dark tones, shadow areas. They're going to be represented as the light areas here. Okay. So I'm going to go with the number 2 here, and I'm going to modify this a little bit by expanding that selection a little bit. Then I'm going to go here to levels and tweak this selection up a little bit more, make the lights a little bit lighter. This is a layer mask that I'm working on, darken up the dark areas. I look at luminosity masks as dodging and burning with training wheels. It really helps you to dodge and burn. So I'm only targeting the dark areas. Whatever you see lighter here is the dark areas. Whatever you see black is actually going to be the light areas. Because remember, it's a layer mask. White reveals and black conceals. Okay, so I think right around there looks pretty good. And then I have to come here where it says layer and say, what do I want to do? I want to burn. So it's going to give me a soft light layer here, and it's going to give me black paint. And so all I'm going to do is paint. Now I have 40% paint on here, and I think that's pretty good. A nice soft brush, and I can just paint away, guys. And it's only picking the dark spots. Isn't that cool? Again, this is not an in-depth tutorial on luminosity masks, but it gives you a little introduction of how powerful they are and how they work. And they're not hard to use, guys. A lot of people are afraid of them, but they are not. See how I can bring the shadow on that ripple out? Okay. And again, I have a touch-sensitive Wacom tablet here, so if I press lighter, I'm not getting as much. If I press harder, I'm getting more. So I'm just burning these areas. Look at that. See, it doesn't touch the highlights. It's only hitting the shadow areas. Adding just a little bit of texture. I probably hit that one a little bit too hard. I'm going to just type E for eraser and just erase that off of there. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to my brush, and I'm going to be really light here. There we go. I hit that too hard. Okay, I'm going to hit this one a little bit harder up here. Hit this a little bit right in there. And maybe take this down to about 20%. And I just want to hit some of these petals in here just to bring out some of the darkness of the petals right in here. Okay, right there. Let's look at it before and after. Click the eyeball here. There's the before and after. See, it just brings out a little bit of more texture there. I'm keeping it off the water, just on the lily pads. And then I could take the opacity and pull this back and just add as much as I think I need. I like it, so I'm going to leave it pretty high here. Probably around 90% somewhere in there. And then to do the dodging, I'm going to click on the lights here. And let's try to find something. I'm trying to find these really light tones. I just want to bring them up a little bit. And I'm thinking maybe like a 3. I'm just going to leave it at that and come back to layer. This time I'm going to select dodge. and it's giving me overlay this time, and now it's giving me white paint. It sets this all up for you guys. I'm going to paint this at 20%, a lot lighter. And I'm just going on the edges here. See, I just want to bring these highlights up. See, like on these little, I don't know what you call these yellow guys in here. I wish I was, I'm not a scientist, guys. Hopefully I'm more of an artist than a scientist. Let me hit some of this in the water here, too. But it's only attacking the light areas. Okay, let's see it before and after here. And it's mainly just on the flower there. See, just a little bit of highlights just dodged up there a little bit. Just to draw some emphasis into that flower. All right, guys. Well, I think I am done. So let's put this all in a group here. So the top layer is selected. Come down to the bottom layer. Hold the Shift key down. Give it a click. And come down here, see the little group icon, give that a click. And let's just call this the edit. Okay, so now let's click this eyeball. So here's the before. So we came from that, guys, and went to that. Pretty amazing, right? And we added a little painterly look to it, and I think it looks really awesome. Well, I hope you liked it. Please leave me some comments and let me know what you think. Oh, just one last thing, guys. I forgot. I wanted to show you how to upsize this image here. Because remember, I cropped this image, and it's right now it's only like a, what is it, 8 by, like 5.5 by 8 image. And if you wanted to print it bigger, you would have to upsize it. And Photoshop does a really good job at upsizing images. And I'll show you what I do. First, I pull it all together. I'm going to use that Tony Kuiper panel icon here, give it a click, and it's going to do the Shift Option Command E deal where it brings all the layers together and stamps the image. And then I'm going to go over to image and image size, and I want to make sure I have resample turned on. And inside of resample, this little drop down dialog box here, this is the new Preserve Details 2.0. For doing enlargements, it's really good, and that's the one I recommend, so make sure that's checked on. This is the original size of the image here, the pixel dimension. And if you go here to, I'm on percent, and you can do by percentage pixels or so on. I like percent. So say like if I up this 200%, the image would be now this pixel dimension. If you click right here and put it into inches, you can see now it would be like a 10 by 16 inch image. If I wanted it bigger, let's change that to 300. And you'll notice this little link is locked between these two. So when I put 300 here, this goes to 300 as well. So now that I could print up to a 24 by 15 inch image, which is probably plenty big for a picture like this. And I would just click OK, reduce noise. There's not much noise, if any, in here, so I'm just going to click OK, and it'll resize my image here in a few seconds or minutes. Nah, it'll do it pretty quick. It might take a little bit longer since I am running the screen editing software here. Well, there it is. Let's make it full screen here. So now you can see it is like, it's almost 16 by 24 inches. So there we go. And so I didn't want to forget to put that in there for you guys to show you how that works too. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. I know this was a bit of a long one, but I wanted to do a full edit so you can see all the things that I do to an image, okay? And I hope it helps. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. This really supports me. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. Guys, it's been a real pleasure being with you today. Remember, you have that inner artist living inside of you. You just need to bring them out, and I'm here to help you do that. Well, guys, have a great week, and I will see you next time.